Beneath the ice, history waits, not as ruins or ruins worn by time, but in a state so vivid, it feels like the past never left. From ancient hunters, frozen mid-journey, to entire civilizations buried beneath glaciers, ice has preserved more than artifacts. It has held onto moments that, until recently, remained sealed in perfect stillness. But now, the world is warming, and the ice is retreating. What's emerging is nothing short of astonishing. 5,000-year-old bodies with their clothes still on, mammoths with blood in their veins, tools, temples, even ships that vanished into snow centuries ago. Each time the ice gives something back, we gain a rare, unfiltered glimpse into a world that once was. And yet, each discovery comes with a cost. The very process that reveals these relics is also destroying them. Many artifacts disintegrate within hours of exposure. We are, quite literally, watching history vanish. Welcome to Armchair Archaeology, where today we journey into the frozen archives of the Earth. We'll uncover how ice became nature's most precise preserver, explore the lives it has protected for millennia, and confront the urgency of a race against melting time. From ancient murder mysteries to animals frozen before the dawn of civilization, what lies beneath the surface challenges everything we thought we knew about the past, and what we thought was gone forever. If this kind of story fascinates you, make sure to subscribe to our channel. We uncover the lost, the strange, and the forgotten every week. Tap the bell so you're always in on the next discovery. And stay with us until the end, because the oldest ice ever discovered on Earth, over 2.7 million years old, might hold more than just ancient air. Scientists believe it could contain dormant life forms, and maybe even long-lost viruses from before humans walked the planet. The ice is melting, the past is surfacing, and we have only a short window before it's lost again, this time for good. Ice doesn't just slow time, it stops it. When temperatures fall far enough, the natural processes that break down organic material grind to a halt. Bacteria can't spread. Enzymes shut down. Decay is paused. In this frozen stasis, things that would have vanished in days can survive for thousands of years. Skin, hair, clothing, food, even emotions frozen on a face. This is what makes ice such a powerful, if accidental, tool for preserving the past. Whether it's the slow, creeping glaciers of the Alps or the deep, dry permafrost of Siberia, the cold creates natural vaults that lock history away with astonishing precision. Tools made of wood or hide, materials that usually rot quickly, emerge almost untouched. Fabrics still hold their weave. A child's footprint in slush can freeze solid, survive 1,000 winters, and reappear in the present day. But here's the catch. Once the ice gives something up, the clock starts ticking again. It's like finding a treasure map that self-destructs as you read it. The moment ancient remains or objects are exposed to air and light, decomposition resumes fast. A 3,000-year-old garment might collapse into fibers within hours. A preserved face can melt back into dust. This brief window between preservation and destruction makes frozen discoveries both thrilling and tragic. And yet, some finds defy belief. In Norway, a 6,000-year-old wooden bow was found in near-perfect condition, still smooth and uncracked. In Siberia, a prehistoric foal, dead for 40,000 years, was so well preserved that it still contained liquid blood. These aren't just traces, they're snapshots, intact, immediate, alive. In a world obsessed with speed and digital archives, ice remains the most analog record keeper of all. Slow, silent, and devastatingly accurate. It preserves not just objects, but the exact moment they were lost. But some icy revelations come with names, faces, and shocking plot twists. In 1991, two hikers in the Ötzi Alps made what seemed like a grim but ordinary discovery. A body emerging from the melting ice, thought at first to be a lost mountaineer. But forensic testing quickly revealed a far more astonishing truth. This was no modern climber. It was a man who had died over 5,000 years ago. His body, gear, and clothing were so well preserved that scientists could study him almost as if he had just died. Ötzi, as he became known, was found with a full kit: a cloak made of woven grass, leather shoes stuffed with moss for insulation, a flint knife, and most remarkably, a copper axe. This last detail stunned archaeologists. At the time, it was assumed copper tools weren't in use in Europe until centuries later. Ötzi's axe forced a rewrite of European prehistory, proving that metalworking had spread earlier and farther than previously thought. And then came the forensic bombshell. Ötzi hadn't died of exposure. A CT scan revealed a flint arrowhead embedded deep in his left shoulder. He had been shot from behind. His hand bore defensive wounds. Blood from at least 4 individuals was found on his clothing and weapons. Ötzi wasn't just a relic, he was a murder victim. Tattoos on his joints suggest a form of therapeutic or ritualistic practice, possibly an early form of acupuncture. His stomach held his final meal: goat meat, unleavened bread, and wild herbs. More than 3 decades later, we're still learning from him. Ötzi is more than just the best-preserved mummy in Europe. He's a fully realized person, complete with habits, health issues, and a violent end. His frozen body transformed archaeology by reminding us that history isn't abstract, it's human. What's your take on Ötzi's final hours? Was it betrayal, survival, or something else entirely? Share your theory in the comments. We read them all. As ice retreats across the planet, it's not just isolated relics that are emerging, it's entire worlds. Forgotten settlements, ceremonial sites, and burial grounds are being revealed for the first time in centuries. Some belonged to cultures we know. Others we're only now discovering ever existed. In Greenland, Norse farms, once hidden under layers of permafrost, are resurfacing. These weren't random outposts. They were part of a vast transatlantic network of Viking exploration and colonization. Now, the remains of turf buildings, boundary walls, and storage pits are coming into view, offering new insights into how these communities lived and why they vanished. Climate played a role then too. As the region cooled during the Little Ice Age, the settlers disappeared. Now, warming temperatures are exposing their legacy. In the high Andes, the melting snow is revealing Incan ritual sites built on mountain tops. These weren't towns or temples. They were sacred spaces, created for ceremonies and sacrifices. Stone altars, staircases, and offerings have emerged where only ice once stood. They show us how far the Inca went to reach the gods, building shrines in places most modern hikers can barely survive. But few discoveries are as haunting as those from the Altai Mountains in Siberia. There, archaeologists uncovered the body of a Scythian noblewoman buried 2,400 years ago in a wooden chamber, her body tattooed with swirling designs. She was laid to rest with carved goods, elaborate furs, and 2 horses bridled and posed beside her. These finds don't just enrich our knowledge, they reshape it. Cultures that once vanished without a trace are speaking again through the thaw. And in a world still shaped by climate, they remind us how vulnerable even the most enduring civilizations can be. And if this kind of historical mystery speaks to you, check out our new ebook, Secrets of the Ancient World. It's full of ancient technologies, lost civilizations, and puzzles history still hasn't solved. The link is in the pinned comment. Frozen bodies don't just tell us how people lived, they show us how they died. Ice has preserved human remains so vividly that they still wear their final expressions, their hair carefully arranged, their garments intact. These are not skeletons in museums. These are lives frozen mid-chapter. In the high Andes, archaeologists have uncovered some of the most poignant examples. Incan children, sacrificed in sacred rituals known as capacocha, a rite of passage meant to honor the gods. Chosen for their purity, these children were honored, fed special diets, and taken on long pilgrimages to mountaintop shrines. There, under thin air and freezing temperatures, they were given chicha, a ceremonial maize beer, and laid to rest. One of them, a teenage girl, now known as La Doncella, remains so lifelike that her cheeks still appear flushed, her hair braided neatly down her back. Her preservation is so extraordinary that scientists were able to detect a respiratory infection in her lungs at the time of death. It's heartbreaking and also a reminder of how precise frozen preservation can be. Let's zoom out. In Siberia, the Ice Maiden of the Pazyryk people was buried with similar care. Her body, still bearing tattoos of mythic creatures, lay in a log chamber alongside fine textiles and 6 horses, positioned as though waiting to carry her into the afterlife. She was likely a healer or spiritual leader, elevated in both life and death. Even soldiers from World War I and II have begun to reappear from alpine glaciers, still clad in uniform, their rifles beside them. Their presence turns once remote battlefields into haunting memorials. These frozen remains collapse the distance between us and the past. They force us to confront the reality that history isn't always buried deep. It can be just beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to return. The Ice Age never really ended. It just went underground. As permafrost thaws across Siberia and the Arctic, creatures that last roamed the Earth tens of thousands of years ago are returning to the surface. Not as fossils, but as bodies. Bodies with fur, with muscles, with blood. Woolly mammoths, steppe bison, woolly rhinos, entire animals have been recovered in astonishing condition. Many still have stomachs full of undigested plants. Some still have their eyelashes. These aren't petrified remains. They are time travelers, and they're turning up by the dozens. In 2013, researchers recovered a female mammoth with liquid blood preserved in ice cavities beneath her body. She had been dead for over 40,000 years. The find raised a question that once belonged only to science fiction. Could extinct species be cloned, turning frozen fossils into living beings? Want more of this intersection between ancient science and modern questions? Secrets of the Ancient World goes further, exploring early engineering, medicine, and the secrets behind real lost cities. Links in the pinned comment. Cave lions have emerged next, their cubs curled as if still sleeping. A severed wolf head, 40,000 years old, was discovered with brain tissue and fur completely intact, revealing not just an ancient predator, but the ecosystem it once ruled. These animals offer more than spectacle. They provide rare opportunities to study Ice Age DNA, behavior, and disease. Some scientists are even analyzing microbes found in and around the remains, sparking concerns about ancient pathogens being reintroduced into the modern world. Are we prepared for bacteria or viruses that haven't been active since before humans built cities? These discoveries remind us that extinction isn't always the end. Some species leave behind footprints, others leave flesh. And as we warm the world, we're also thawing its memory, uncovering a bestiary of the past, preserved not in books or bones, but in bodies so complete, they feel like they never left. Long before written history, people carved their legacies in stone, wood, and metal. And in the coldest corners of the world, those legacies remain intact. As glaciers retreat and permafrost softens, weapons and tools lost in battle, in migration, or in ritual are returning to light, often in a condition so pristine, it's as if their owners just set them down. In Norway's melting mountain passes, archaeologists have recovered everything from Stone Age arrow shafts to Viking swords and shields. These weren't buried in graves, they were active gear, dropped mid-journey or lost in combat. One Viking spearhead emerged so well preserved that it still bore signs of recent sharpening. Some blades, exposed after centuries encased in ice, retained their edge, literally still sharp enough to cut. In Canada's Yukon Territory, indigenous hunting tools dating back over 7,000 years have surfaced. Carved wooden darts, sinew-bound points, and throwing sticks. Many still carry the marks of their makers, grooves from a shaping tool, or wear patterns where fingers once gripped tightly. These artifacts aren't just glimpses of ancient warfare or survival, they're expressions of design, innovation, and adaptation. Studying their form and function gives us insight into how prehistoric people thought about mechanics, balance, and utility. And for modern audiences, they resonate with today's growing fascination with ancestral technology, wilderness survival, and the art of making by hand. In a time when craftsmanship is being rediscovered through maker culture and digital archiving, these frozen tools remind us ingenuity is nothing new. The first engineers weren't trained. They were born into harsh environments, and they crafted their way through them. Now, their creations speak across the ages, preserved by ice and revealed by climate. If you'd like to support the work behind this channel, consider hitting the Super Thanks button. It helps us keep these stories alive and make each episode sharper, deeper, and more ambitious. Antarctica is the coldest, driest, and most remote continent on Earth, but it may also be the least understood. Beneath its massive ice sheet lies a hidden world we're only beginning to map, filled with ancient landscapes, strange formations, and untouched ecosystems that haven't seen daylight in millions of years. Thanks to satellite imaging and ice-penetrating radar, scientists have discovered buried mountain ranges, vast valleys, and long-dried riverbeds beneath the surface. One of the most mysterious features is the Wilkesland Anomaly, a massive, circular depression nearly 300 miles wide, hidden under 2 miles of ice. Some believe it marks the site of a massive asteroid impact that may have contributed to a mass extinction event. Others point to its strange symmetry and speculate, more controversially, about ancient structures, even lost civilizations. The debate continues, but the mystery remains frozen in place. Then there are Antarctica's subglacial lakes, over 400 of them, kept from freezing by geothermal heat. The most famous, Lake Vostok, has been sealed off from the surface for at least 15 million years. When scientists drilled into its icy ceiling, they found microbial life forms unlike any seen before, organisms that may have evolved in total isolation. It's one of the best Earth-based models we have for what alien life might look like on frozen moons like Europa or Enceladus. Antarctica also contains Earth's oldest preserved climate data. Ice cores taken from its depths capture ancient air, offering a record of atmospheric conditions stretching back nearly 1 million years. Now, scientists are pushing deeper, searching for ice that may be over 2.7 million years old. Antarctica isn't just a frozen wilderness, it's a time capsule of our planet's deepest secrets, and it may hold answers to questions we haven't even thought to ask yet. When we think of lost treasure, we often imagine sunken ships and desert tombs. But some of the most astonishing hoards have been preserved not by sand or sea, but by ice. Across the Arctic, melting glaciers and thawing permafrost are revealing stashes of wealth and memory, coins, relics, and entire ships frozen in time. In Iceland, a Viking-era silver hoard was unearthed from the permafrost, arm rings, coins, and beads left behind in a moment of crisis or ceremony. In Alaska, explorers discovered a pouch of gold coins along what was once a bustling trade route, likely dropped and quickly buried under snowfall that hardened into permafrost for centuries. But it's in the Arctic waters that some of the most haunting discoveries have surfaced. In 2014, search teams found HMS Erebus, one of the lost ships from the doomed Franklin expedition. It had been frozen beneath the ice for over 160 years. When researchers explored the wreck, they found something remarkable. Much of the ship's structure was intact. Masts still stood. Plates and cutlery remained in place. Even the rigging was preserved, coiled ropes lying exactly where the crew had left them. These aren't just treasure chests. They're frozen narratives of ambition, exploration, and tragedy. Each find speaks to a moment when fortune, fate, and the brutal force of nature collided. And while the gold and silver gleam, it's the personal items, clothing, letters, utensils that truly bring these stories to life. As climate change continues to reveal more, we're reminded that not all treasure is measured in wealth. Sometimes it's in the fragile remains of lives interrupted, stories frozen into the ice, and now, finally, heard again. The ice is vanishing faster than anyone expected, and with it, history is slipping through our fingers. All around the world, archaeologists are watching the frozen past thaw into the present, only to dissolve before it can be studied. The same warming that reveals these astonishing finds is also destroying them. In the Alps, hikers stumble across ancient tools, boots, and even bodies emerging from shrinking glaciers. But the moment they're exposed to air, the countdown begins. Leather warps, cloth disintegrates, and human remains, hair, skin, even bone, can break down in hours. Items that endured for millennia in icy silence often vanish in a single afternoon. It's a slow disaster unfolding in plain sight. This narrow window of recovery is what researchers call the exposure moment, a fragile and unpredictable chance to study artifacts before they're lost. And it's shrinking. In places like Norway, Yukon, and the Andes, archaeologists are receiving more finds than they can physically reach or document. Some must prioritize which pieces of history to save and which to let go. What's being lost isn't just academic data, it's lived experience. A hunter's hand-carved tool, a child's carefully sewn mitten, the final footprints of a vanished culture. These details, once preserved in perfect clarity, are now decaying faster than we can respond. And unlike stone monuments or buried ruins, these organic traces leave no second chances. Once they're gone forever. This is no longer about the distant past. The frozen memory of humanity is melting right now. And every season that passes could erase stories that were never told, people never remembered, and moments that never had the chance to be understood. For all we've found in melting ice, it's what remains hidden that may be the most extraordinary. Scientists and archaeologists agree we're only beginning to understand what the frozen world still holds. With thousands of glaciers, ice fields, and permafrost zones yet to be explored, the next great discovery could be just one warm season away. Entire settlements may still lie entombed in ice. Remote valleys in Siberia and Greenland, long overlooked or inaccessible, are now being surveyed with drone-mounted LiDAR and satellite imagery. Strange shapes beneath snowfields, straight lines, circles, clusters, could be the buried footprints of structures, roads, even lost cultures. Some researchers believe we may one day find entire communities frozen at the moment of abandonment. But one of the most tantalizing possibilities is the preservation of ancient human ancestors. Could a Neanderthal, Denisovan, or early Homo sapiens, entombed in an ice cave or sealed beneath a landslide, emerge as intact as Ötzi? So far, we've only recovered bones, but if the conditions were right, stable, oxygen-free, and cold enough, there's a real chance of discovering a body frozen with hair, skin, and even DNA preserved. It would be one of the most important finds in the history of science. Frozen remains of extinct species may also continue to surface, offering a clearer picture of lost ecosystems and even genetic material that could one day be used in cloning or environmental restoration efforts. What the ice has already revealed is astonishing. What remains inside it could reshape everything we think we know about human evolution, ancient migration, and the fragility of civilization. The past is still out there, locked in ice, waiting for just the right moment to return. If that idea grabs you, Secrets of the Ancient World was made for you. It connects ancient knowledge with today's biggest questions, and it's a great companion to everything we explore here. The links in the pinned comment. From prehistoric hunters to frozen princesses, from extinct mammoths to Viking treasure, the ice has guarded stories far longer than we've had the tools to read them. Each melt, each thaw, is revealing a fragile whisper of what once was, intact, detailed, and sometimes painfully human. But this isn't just a historical curiosity, it's a crisis of timing. We are in a moment of unprecedented access to the deep past, just as the natural conditions that preserved it are vanishing. For every relic rescued, dozens more are lost before we even know they were there. These frozen finds aren't just about learning where we came from, they hold relevance now. They reveal how ancient people adapted to extreme climates, how societies rose and fell, how diseases moved, and how innovation often came from necessity. As we face our own rapidly changing world, these echoes from the ice serve as both warning and inspiration. And now, the fun fact we promised: the oldest ice ever discovered on Earth is more than 2.7 million years old. Scientists are drilling into these ancient layers, not just for climate data, but to study trapped air from a time before humans existed, and possibly even uncover dormant bacteria or viruses that haven't seen the light of day in millions of years. It's not just history, it's biology, mystery, and the edge of what we understand. Here's your challenge. One frozen secret. Anytime, any place. What would you want to unearth? Remember, the past isn't buried, it's frozen, and the thaw is happening now. Thank you for embarking on this chilling journey into the frozen vaults of our past. If you found this exploration fascinating, support our channel Armchair Archaeology by giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing for more thrilling windows into ancient history. Don't forget to activate the notification bell so you never miss a discovery. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What icy mystery do you think is still waiting to be uncovered? Drop your ideas in the comments below. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the flame of curiosity burning bright.